Good morning, and welcome to Module 2 for Southern New Hampshire University for a graduate level course. And this is Larry Straub, and I wanted to kind of go over a few things for this module. First of all, on your assignments for this week, you'll have two assignments. One is the discussion 2.1. Again, I would encourage on both the discussion and the regular assignment, make sure that you read each assignment carefully and look at the rubrics. And as I encouraged last week, I'd like to highly encourage everybody to use the required areas that are graded on the rubrics as your headers. That way you make sure you get all of the things that need to be covered in your papers or in your discussions. And so that's not a bad way to do it. And also it makes it clear for me that everything is there as well. So you have a discussion for this week. And then you also have assignment 2.2. And again, it's going to be very important to read and look over this assignment. There's a communication template that you'll need to utilize. It's attached with the assignment. It's called Management 550 Communication Template. And that's the form that the assignment has to be done on. And if it's not done on that, you'll have to redo it. So just has you identify two communications issues from the case. And so, again, just be sure you read everything through thoroughly, look over all of the documents that are attached, and you should be in good shape. So anyway, that's the discussion board and the assignment for this week. And if you have any questions, you can reach out. On Module 2 itself, it's titled Setting the Stage for Effective Communication. And this obviously is an important module and an important topic, as a lot of times, whether a communication fails or succeeds, many times comes down to the planning that we do beforehand. Now, obviously, there's impromptu communication that we all do daily that we don't plan. They just kind of happen spur of the moment. But for big communication, organizational communications, many times we need to think things through and we need to plan for them. And I would say that's actually never been more important than it is now. Hypersensitive and very somewhat politicized environments we have, it's just pretty important to think through and think about what you're saying. It's not only political anymore, it's even cultural issues. And in some cases, it can even be personal issues that flare up between even family members at times. So be sure, especially organizationally, that you think through and plan your communications. The other thing I would note is that it's important to know who your stakeholders are. Now, we talked about knowing who your stakeholders are organizationally, but it's also important to know who your stakeholders are for a particular communication, even within an organization. Is it a departmental communication? Is it an organizational-wide communication? Is it pitched for outside of the organization? And so depending on the answer of those questions, the way you frame and the way you plan your communication could be markedly different. So be sure and think about that and think about who the stakeholders are for each particular communication that you're going to be doing. And then also think about what the objectives of your communication are. What are you trying to accomplish with your communication? Again, this can be on a sliding scale from clear over this way to clear over that way, right? And everywhere in between. So some communications are very important, and they might be big, and they might be pretty grandiose in their nature. And other communications are a little more targeted and maybe not quite as crucial or important. But still, it's important to think about what your objectives for each communication are. And finally, when it comes to effective communication, and I can't emphasize this enough, is practice practice, practice, especially if it's a video communication or an audio communication. And then if it's an email or even a texting communication, proof, proof, proof. Okay, make sure that you proof your communications, especially in the age of autocorrect. I'm sure we've all been caught a time or two where we didn't proof or we didn't read our communication enough before it went out, and something was autocorrected that maybe changed the nature of the communication. Hopefully not too seriously, but in some cases it can be. You see spoofs on that on Facebook and on the internet at times of some really fails on autocorrect that you kind of laugh and scoff at. But depending on the situation, it can be potentially serious. So be sure and practice your communication up front. If you're going to be delivering to a group or doing video or doing an audio, practice up front. And if you're doing something via email or in a letter or whatever case that might be, or in a press release, be sure you proof, and you have maybe even somebody else help proof before you turn something in or before you hit the send button. Okay? All right, well, I think that's all I wanted to highlight for this particular module. One thing I would say, I apologize, I know on the last module there are a few of you that had some problems accessing everything, and sometimes I'm not the best help on that because I'm not seeing exactly everything you folks are seeing with your stuff. I can hit student view, but sometimes I'm still not seeing everything that you are. So I appreciate everybody working together like you did to try to rectify those issues. I think we got them all figured out eventually. And then also I would emphasize that you can reach out to tech help, and many times they can help you with some different things as well. So use your resources, your graduate level education. So part of this is trying to figure things out, and I'll help as much as I can, but I do appreciate all of you reaching out to each other and helping each other out a little bit along the way too. That's a sign of a good, productive cohort. All right, well, thanks again for your time, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week. I've had some of you send me LinkedIn requests, and I've accepted all of those. I appreciate those of you that have, and if you haven't yet, be sure and do that. I'd love to have you as part of my professional network, and we will talk to you next week. Thank you.